Now we are going to discuss about the final experiment in machine elements laboratory. This one is study of hydrostatic bearing. This is the objective, to study the features of hydrostatic bearing. I will explain it. To measure the film thickness, this is the film thickness of H for different loads at different flow rates, and draw the radial pressure distribution. This is radial pressure distribution. Okay. We have some mechanism to change the flow through this passage. This is what we will do to compare the experimental pressure distribution with theoretical. That means this is the theoretical pressure distribution. I will get actual pressure distribution also. And to determine the minimum flow rate required to support a certain load. What does it mean? Our purpose of hydrostatic bearing is to develop a fluid film. Okay.
Yes.
Now here, if we supply say some more amount of oil than what is required, there is no harm as such. Hydrodynamic bearing action would be there, but some of that energy in delivering the lubricant, that would be lost. So recall, in your theory part, you had to calculate that part of your energy, you had to take a derivative of that with respect to flow rate, and then there was an optimum flow rate. A theoretical analysis was there in your bearing design, is it not?
Yes.
There are two parts of the energy. One is coming from the flow velocity, like pressure and velocity of the fluid flow, that is giving one part of the energy. Frictional loss is giving the other part of the energy. You are taking the total energy and then you are making the derivative of that. This is how you did this analysis. Okay. So that is what we will try to do experimentally. Okay. So these are the objectives. You note, this is what is there within the experimental setup. Here this is the schematic diagram of the experimental setup. This is the basic bearing that we are talking about. Okay. So our basic hydrostatic bearing is this part only this part, okay. So what is hydrostatic bearing, their relation with hydrodynamic bearing and other things? This is what we have already discussed in the introductory part. Clear? So the theory part I won't discuss here. This is a theoretical expression for flow rate, this is for pressure distribution, you know that. And you note these dimensions here. The capital D means outer diameter is 50 millimeter. Sorry, this is outer diameter 208 millimeter, and this pocket is 50 millimeter. Okay. So, or you can say this ratio is 0.24, this value is 50, this is ratio what will come experiment setup, and these are the instrumentation required. Let us see here what is there. Let us explain through this diagram. This is the basic unit. Okay. The flow is coming centrally in the central cavity. This is the pocket where we will get a constant pressure, and then the pressure will fall gradually. This is what we will get. Okay. This pocket is 50 millimeter, the outer diameter is 208 millimeter. This is the pressure distribution. Now, there is some load.
Yes.
This is what is moving. Moving with a very low velocity. Are we giving any rotation to this? No, not at all. Because if there is no flow, in this line. What will happen due to this weight and the friction between these surfaces, if we try to rotate this unit, actually it is not complete because this is guided somewhere, it can only rotate, it will not translate. So, from a top view, this view is circular, and if we try to rotate and there is a handle attached with this part, this circular part. Is there any photograph? That part, photograph of that part is not available, whatever. So, some other photographs are there, but just for this part there is no separate photograph available. It will not try to rotate, we have to apply some torque to make it rotate. But when there is a oil flow, it will become smooth. Okay. Just by your thumb itself, you would be able to rotate this thing. So that is what we will test, that whether a film has been generated or not. Clear? Now, what is film thickness? To measure film thickness, so we will stop the fluid flow from here. Where from fluid flow is coming, follow this path. Okay. Then this is indicated by this line. This line is passing through an orifice meter, and ultimately it is coming to a pump. L is a pump, this is a gear pump. From in the delivery line there is a orifice meter. This is the orifice meter, and there is a manometer connected on the two sides of the orifice. And you know the purpose of orifice is to measure the flow in the line. You did a separate experiment on orifice in your fluid mechanics laboratory. Okay. As well as there is a pressure indicator. This pressure indicator means this type of indicators are there. Is there any more indicator? No, not that. These are some pressure indicators, okay, where you will get the reading directly. So it is there, and what happens then? The fluid is passing through the bearing. It is coming out all through the circumference. It is coming out, and from there we are taking the suction part. This completes the fluid flow line. Is it clear? Let us again trace the delivery line. It is going through this orifice. It is coming centrally to the bearing. It is passing through this gap, and the fluid is collected here. You collect at any point from each side, the fluid will come over here. Okay. So this is our fluid flow part. What else is there? There is a valve, okay, which is known as a bypass valve. Okay. So this V, this is a bypass valve. If we open this valve, the flow will come directly here. Why it will come in this path? Because we have some resistance in this path, and you know how to analyze flow in a pipeline when there is a series and parallel combinations of pipelines. It is like your resistance, velocity, current, resistance, flow. There are some laws. Accordingly, you have to those type of analysis you can do. You did it in your fluid mechanics. Okay. So this is the bypass line. The purpose is to control flow. Usually it remains closed, but it is open to control the flow. Okay. And what next? So initially there is no, say we are not running the pump, this is in contact, and at that point we have fixed a dial gauge on the top of this handle. Okay. So here this is item E. Dial gauge must be written. Yeah, D is dial gauge. Okay. This E is a dial gauge. Where is the dial gauge? This one is the dial gauge. Okay. See, this is the arm. Understand? This is the arm, and here the dial gauge is fixed. So what will happen when this pump is switched on? There is a fluid film. So this will generate or move this whole unit in vertically upward direction. So that reading will get in the dial gauge. Clear? So now this dial gauge, they can measure. This is not at an accuracy of 1 micron, but its accuracy is 10 micron. Okay. But you get dial gauge at the accuracy level of 1 micron as well. So that is what we are attaching there. Now another part, this is one part. Okay. To find out how much flow is coming through this, and in addition, what is not shown here is the weight part. This is a weight platform as well. So we can put some weight on this. This itself by itself has some weight, and additional weight we can put on top of this. Okay. And another part of our objective was to get this pressure distribution. Okay. So this pressure distribution, this will change in this region only. In the pocket, it is almost same. Okay. The dimensions are also given here. See, the pocket diameter is 50 millimeter and the outer diameter is 208 millimeter. And then there are some tappings. Okay, what are the distance of the tappings? Is it there? Here. You see, these are the tapping points. 200, this 20 means diameter is 40. 40, 60, 80, 100, and it is going up to 180. Is okay? What does it mean?
So this is the small envelope.
No, these are the tapping points. First one, 20, radius 20 means diameter is 40. And what is this measurement? The radius is 25, because the diameter is 50. Diameter is 50, small d, so this is 25. We have a tapping within the pocket, and this is 208, so 104 is the radius.
Yes.
And our last tapping is at 90 millimeter. So those are the tapping points, and manometers are connected through those tapping points. So what we will get from there? We will get this distribution. Because when it is open, this is gauge 0, gauge reading is 0 there. So at 104 the reading is 0. Okay. So this is what we are measuring.
Okay,
now for the purpose of measurement, what is done is, instead of attaching so many number of pressure gauges, there is a common manifold. Okay. And these are some valves, all the valves are say closed. To get the reading of this tapping point, if we open this valve, okay, this manifold will have that particular pressure.
Yes.
And then this indicator will show this particular pressure. Okay. So that way, gradually, if we start from this point, taking reading in this particular pressure gauge, we will get all the readings. So this part is shown in this diagram. See, this is the common manifold. Okay. These are the valves. These are the valves. And these are connected with those tapping points. Okay. This is the pressure gauge. This part is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this is the orifice meter, and this is the manometer connected with the orifice meter. That means which part of the diagram? This part.
Sir.
We have an orifice, then there is a manometer connected with the orifice. The purpose of the orifice is to measure the flow rate. Huh.
Yes, sir.
So this is the orifice,
Yes, sir.
and this orifice has a calibration curve also. So that calibration is there, and what we measure is the pressure drop about the orifice. In the two sides of the orifice, we measure what is the pressure drop.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is mercury glass tube manometer. Scales are attached, so we can measure
Yes,
what
sir.
is the
Difference.
difference in height. This is the detailing of this part. Okay, and where is the calibration curve? This is the calibration curve. So this is flow rate versus manometer limb difference, manometer reading difference in millimeter. Okay, that part is complete. So this is about the experimental setup, and from this experimental setup we can make a plot of pressure distribution, right, and we can determine the minimum flow rate also.
Yes, sir.
How that can be done? To obtain minimum flow rate, what we do in our experiment, see, when this is closed, okay, the total flow is coming through this path.
Yes, sir.
Now, we are not measuring the film thickness, that part of the measurement is done, say. Now what will happen? This is free now, free to rotate.
Yes.
Let us open this valve a bit. What will happen? Flow through this path will reduce.
Yes, sir.
Let us check this movement once again. Okay. And then let us open this valve some more. And at one time, we'll feel that it is getting jammed. Okay. We can take the previous reading as the minimum flow rate which is required to establish the hydrostatic action. That is how we measure the minimum flow rate.
Okay, sir.
Of course, this is not a very correct measurement, because even when they have touched, we are getting some resistance, still there would be some flow.
Yes, sir.
Because we understand the high points, they will come in contact and there are enough space for the fluid to escape through it.
Yes, sir.
So if you keep it in rest, if you stop this valve, still it will have some movement. The fluid film will be completely squeezed out, it will take some time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, those viscosity and other things are there. So that is how we calculate the minimum flow rate requirement at best. This is the observation to support a circuit. Okay. Compare pressure distribution and this part. Film thickness, this is what we are measuring through dial gauge.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are the experimental part. Experimental observations we are doing in this particular experiment. This is clear. We have explained all these things, the experimental procedure, whatever. Is there? This is what we have already explained. Okay.
Yes, sir.
that is not. Thing is, the experiment is carried out for different loads. One is, you have seen the loading platform,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So on that loading platform, we can put some additional weight. So it has a self weight, somewhat it is there. I think that self weight, this is 57 kg, and then with some additional weight 66.4 kg. Now after putting additional weight, 57 kg will become 66.4. Put another weight, it will become 75.6 kg. This is what we are already having
Yes,
in
sir,
our
I have.
laboratory. You have seen
Yes, yes.
those things. Okay. So this is the measurement, but before going to that, I must tell you regarding that pump also. Here we have a gear pump, right?
Yes.
So why this is a gear pump, or a gear pump is a positive displacement pump. You know
Yes.
that this is not a. What is the other one? Rotodynamic.
Reciprocating, sir, water dynamic.
No, gear pump is like reciprocating, positive
Yes.
displacement. And rotodynamic is a different type.
Yes.
Okay. So you can say gear pump is like a positive, like what you are talking, reciprocating. Now the reciprocating pump, there is much fluctuation in a particular piston movement. You will get much fluctuation in pressure versus flow rate curve. So there are usually they make it 2, 3, 4 pistons connected to a same manifold, and for gear pump it is almost uniform because there are so many units there. So this is the schematic of the gear pump. Okay. So this is also a positive displacement pump, and the positive displacement pump has your performance curve like this. The performance curve of a pump means its pressure versus volume relationship, right? As well as the power will also, you will get power also from the flow velocity or flow rate versus pressure
There are different types
relationship.
of displacement. Performance curve will be there. Flow versus pressure.
For different pumps, you will get different type of curves, and these are the curves for different speed. With speed, your flow rate will increase. This is true for every positive displacement pump. You increase the speed, flow rate will increase. And then you see, ideally, theoretically, all these lines should be parallel to this pressure axis or the static head axis. But in actual case, there is some leakage, so these are drooping in nature. This is what you did in your fluid machinery course, right?
Yes, sir, but I do not remember.
Acha. Anyway, this was discussed
Yes,
in
sir,
your
yes,
fluid
sir.
machinery course. Ideally, this should remain constant. Because flow rate is only a function of the rotational speed. But why this is drooping? Because with increase in pressure, this is basically static head, there is some loss which comes. That means there is some leakage, backflow and other things. This
Yes, sir,
happens.
there are some frictional loss will be there also.
Whatever, and due to this we get this drooping nature. Okay. But what is the pressure that you will get from this particular pump? What we can say at the most is that at a particular speed we will get this much of flow. What about the pressure? We cannot say how much pressure we are going to get unless we connect it to a system. You recall, any performance curve has to be put along with the system characteristic curve.
Yes.
Then only you will get the operating point of the pump.
Yes, sir.
This is only the pump performance curve. Clear? Where is the system characteristic curve? Where from it will come? This full path will give us the system characteristic curve. Understand? Fluid flowing through this path. Okay. This has some resistance value. This orifice meter has some resistance value here in the path. Again, this line. Understand the V square by 2G or that
Yes, sir.
head loss part.
Yes, yes.
Okay, then there is again some loss in this bearing itself. So in totality, for different flow rate, this will also change. So along with this pump performance curve, if we make a plot of that system resistance curve, then only we can get the operating point of the pump. And what is happening when we are opening that bypass valve? The operating point is getting changed. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So that is why by using or controlling that bypass valve, we are getting different points of this pump performance.
Yes, sir.
It's clear? So this is the reason for using gear pump, and here our purpose is to keep flow rate constant all through. Okay, if this is a positive displacement pump, actually gear pump is the best one because it almost gives a smooth curve. So even if this head changes, our flow rate remains almost the same. Is clear? And that is what we are doing, is it not? In these experiments, we are keeping weight constant.
Yes, sir.
So that means if this weight is constant, then if we change this thing, our system characteristic is changing. So for a constant flow rate, somehow the head in the system that is changing, and thereby the operating point, the system operating point is getting changed. So this is the control part, and these are some experimental data. So this data is from some previous experiment. It is available, so it is shown here. What is this one? This is for serial number 123 supply pressure. This table is for measurement of dial gauge thickness and to find out what is the minimum flow requirement. Okay. See, this is 57 kg supply pressure. This is gradually reducing. Why? Because we are opening that bypass valve.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the manometer reading, this will also reduce, obviously, because as per the calibration curve. Okay, this is the reading. If the limb difference reduces, okay, we are getting a smaller value of flow. Okay, 0.95 supply pressure, and what is dial gauge reading? This is 0. So initially, when the valve, bypass valve was closed, this was the reading. This was in millimeter, then this is 0.37, and finally it is almost 0. So everywhere this final one is almost 0. Okay. So this is what we do. Gradually we open bypass valve and we see when this is almost 0. Actually it won't come down. This is what happens.
Yes.
Because now that particular arm, this is not moving freely
Yes.
at this particular dial gauge reading. If you allow it to stay for certain hours, you will again get back to 0 reading. It will take some time to come back there. So this part is for determining the minimum flow rate requirement. Okay. We can take these values are the minimum flow rate. These values is the minimum flow rate. Okay. And corresponding to this manometer reading, we know what are the flow rates from here. Okay. This is one part of the experiment. The other part is the radial pressure distribution.
Yes.
For different load, these readings are there. You can make a plot of that. This is applied load. This is comparison. Okay. Film thickness from calibration curve. The
From theoretical
calculated from calibration curve flow rate. So actually this is your comparison for this result.
So with theoretical value.
With theoretically calculated value, but you see corresponding to this minimum flow rate, this result is a very approximate result.
Yes.
So your percentage error is too high here, almost
100%.
actually these errors are quite high as such. Okay. So whatever, still some results we are getting from there, but pressure distribution part is rather a better match. This is theoretical pressure distribution and these are the actual pressure distribution we obtained from manometer readings. So this is the experiment for the hydrostatic bearing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's stop here.